5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Colin Hopkins.
And I'm Lydia Campbell, and welcome to episode 22 of Lisburn Distillery TV, in what is our final episode of the current series.
In this final episode, we'll be looking back at what has been an exceptionally busy week for all things at Lisburn Distillery Football Club.
We will be reviewing a tremendous night at the end of season award dinner last Saturday night, as well as discussing the supporters versus players challenge match.
We'll have the last of our Lisburn Distillery Legends player interviews, and also we'll have a brief look forward to next season's Premier Intermediate League.
We will also just be bringing you some news updates from around Lisburn Distillery Football Club.
Well, Lydia, despite the fact it's the end of the season, it's fair to say it's been a bit of a hectic week here at Lisburn Distillery.
Yeah, it has been, but one of the highlights was definitely last Thursday with the annual Players v Supporters Challenge match. So a good night had by all, I think.
Yeah. Interesting thing is both of us took part in that actual match. For me, it was a bit of an achievement getting the full sort of game under my belt. I thought it lasted about 10 minutes, so I was delighted to get through the entire match. And I hear a certain TV presenter who's not me actually managed to score a goal on the night.
Yes, so no one can ever take my goal at Ballyskay away from me. You haven't said that. The players, I think, were trying their best to let me have, you know, and when I missed the first penalty in classic Fulham style, they, you know, obviously there was an encroachment in the box, so it had to be retaken. We take this quite seriously, don't we, here at Lisburn Distillery? So, encroachment in the box was obviously unfair that I missed my first penalty. So, got an opportunity for a second, and planted it, gave the keeper no chance. So
of course it was me set it up. Of course, got fouled for the penalty.
Yes, well, dived for the penalty, right. But
we'll call it teamwork. I didn't see you complaining too much.
Yeah, well, as I said, I can't. Doesn't matter how the challenge came about, Colin. I just have to take the challenge.
Take the challenge that comes along.
That's ahead of me.
Exactly.
So, what can you do?
No, it was definitely a great night's entertainment, and thanks to everybody, for all the players who agreed to take part, and also for all the supporters who turned up to support the event. Thanks everybody.
Next up in tonight's episode will be our final in our series of interviews with Lisburn Distillery legends.
And the legend in question this time is no one other than John Martin, who will best be remembered for his 2005 hat-trick against Linfield at Windsor Park in a thumping 4-0 win for Lisburn Distillery. And here's what John had to say when he came into the studio when he talked to the day.
So John, thank you very much for joining us here on Lisburn Distillery TV. So you signed for Lisburn Distillery from Ballyclare Comrades under Paul Kirk.
Yeah.
First season went down, but then came straight back up. That was the season that there was a lot of really interesting stuff happened at Distillery that year. You played in 2 semi-finals, one of them being in the Irish Cup against Glentoran.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, came out in the losing side, 2-1. But what are your memories from that day?
Just it was probably one of the biggest days, probably in the club. Well, my history anyway, being here. Probably the most supporters I've ever seen Distillery bring to a match. Lots of banners, lots of flags and stuff, lots of happy people. Hoping we could get a result. But I think we went 1-0 up, if I remember right. Darren Armour scored. And then just before half time, the usual, the referees sort of favour the big. Give them as a penalty, went 1 each, and then after that it just sort of they took control and we lost it 2-1, unfortunately.
It's probably difficult days whenever you reach a semi-final of such a massive competition. But it wasn't all bad news though for you. You know, a couple of years later, you've made history essentially. You've been, from what we know, you're the last Irish League player to score a hat-trick against the Blues at Windsor Park. Here you had a rousing reception from the Shankill Road that night. What are your memories from that day in particular?
Absolute unbelievable feeling. Never in my life did I think I would have scored a hat-trick, especially against Linfield at Windsor. As I say, I think someone gave me the stats that there was maybe only 3, 4, 5 people that ever done it, and the last person was something like 1976. That was back then. So at the end of the match, I actually remember them field fans, obviously, because I know a lot of them from being from the Shankill, and a lot of them was actually cheering and applauding me like for scoring it. So. And Big Davey wasn't too happy either.
I can imagine. I can imagine he wasn't best pleased. That year as well, you went. You know, it was actually a really difficult year for Distillery that season. You stayed up by the absolute skin of your teeth. But you were actually the man to score the goal against Newry City that kept you up. So from scoring a hat trick at Windsor Park, and then scoring the goal that kept Distillery up, that must have some fantastic feelings from that season.
I think it was, but I mean that's only one goal. I mean, the guys, the rest of the team, boys fought tooth and nail to stay up, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't take a recognition for that. Yes, it was nice to score and keep the club up, but it was a team effort, to be fair. So it was.
You also, just a couple of years after that, then you were playing in Europe with Lisburn Distillery. You played in, unfortunately, in the home tie, you got sent off and managed to get yourself suspended for the next one. But that must be something really, really special, being a local guy from Northern Ireland and being able to say that you played in European football competitions.
It was very nice. I think that year we finished 4th. I think that was probably our highest. Probably our best season that we put together, and the highest we finished in the league. And we went away to Lithuania to play in that at their total. Played in the first round. I think we were beat 1-0, but put up a good match, like considering they were professionals. Came back here, and unfortunately we lost again, and I was sent off. So it was for something silly.
Yeah, it's difficult when that happens. Maybe one of the biggest games of your career, but you know, at the end of the day, it's something no one can take away from you. Just before we finish the interview, I just want to just tell you something quite exciting. You're one of our 50 plus club. In other words, you've scored over 50 goals for Lisburn Distillery in 229 appearances. You managed to hit 52 goals for the club. I mean, that again, that must be something that, you know, as a a young person being interested in football, that must be just something that you could only have dreamed of.
Yeah, well, I mean, probably one of my heroes in the game was Bertie McMinn, as you know, who's a legend at this club. So to come here and play for the team he still supports and score 50 goals and get into that wee club and maybe get up beside him's definitely special, so it is.
It's a massive well done to Richard Curly Hunter and the boys of the Lisburn Distillery Under-17s Academy football team, who last week defeated Castlewellan on penalties to complete the treble in their season. Well done, guys.
It was a disappointing end for the under-20s as they lost on penalties to the Harland and Wolf Welders last Saturday in the quarter-final of the George Wilson Cup. Despite the defeat, though, the boys have had a fantastic first season and finished runners-up in their league. So well done, boys.
Lisburn Distillery are delighted to confirm that no less than 5 players have already signed new contracts to play at the club for next season. Coming on board already are Darren Docherty, Rhys Croft, Johnny McCaw, Alan McMurtry and Andrew Simpson. Welcome back, guys, and we look forward to seeing you next season.
The club's annual general meeting of shareholders will be taking place here at the club next Thursday night, that's the 18th of May, and season tickets for the 2017-18 season will be available on the night.
Lisburn Distillery are currently seeking sponsors to help support us in our quest to bring senior football back to this famous club. A number of sponsorship opportunities are available, ranging from shirt sponsorship, advertising in our matchday programme, advertising here on Lisburn Distillery TV, as well as matchday and academy sponsorship. If you or your business would like to partner the club in reaching our goals, please contact us on the email address now on the screen and we will issue you with a list of current sponsorship opportunities. Thank you for your support. Next up on today's show, we'll be looking back at what was a fantastic award ceremony which took place here at the club last Saturday night.
But before we look at the outcome of the awards, let's take a brief look back at some of the video footage from the evening.
My friend was point and you have raised £240. No, 2,400. 2,400. check for 2,400 pounds. What a legend, what an absolute legend.
Well, Lydia, that was your first attendance at an end of season award ceremony. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, it was a great night. Great food. Just great to see everyone there, and it was really nice to see the players and supporters together in a social, atmosphere. I think that was really nice to see, and the managers and the under-20s. It was just a really enjoyable night.
It's very much a sort of a family sort of event, in that the distillery family all comes together for one big night, and it's a lovely way to end the season. But in terms of the awards, happy enough with the recipients?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, it was a clean sweep by Darren Dock, I think, which was I think that's very, very deserved. I think some of the things were said about him, for being quite a quiet guy, it's his influence in that team this year has been superb. And then some of our young players really have been fantastic. Johnny and Alan have been impressive, and then I'm glad Stephen Curley got one of the awards as well, because I think we've needed him. We've really needed that leadership. And it's not to say though that it was all about those guys. I think what I loved about it was the team spirit. Everyone getting involved, and those players have played their skins off for each other this year, and it's really nice to see that they've made a real relationship off the pitch as well as on, because that's such, I know from being in teams in the past, that's so important, your communication and how you get on off the pitch. It just helps how things go on the pitch.
There's no doubt Saturday was a very, very, not only a good night in terms of the awards, but I think that the overall sort of sense of camaraderie and friendship, etc., which really exists at the club at the moment, was very much there for all to sort of see. Certainly, I know we all look forward now to next season. Just pity it doesn't start for another couple of months, but season 138 is going to be a good one for Lisburn Distillery, and I can't wait for it to start.
Looking ahead now to next season's Premier Intermediate League, it has now been confirmed that both Newry City and Limavady Valley United have been promoted up into the Championship. So well done, guys, for that. I think it's been deserved. Colin,
fully deserved.
Definitely say that.
Fully deserved.
Definitely. While Anna United and Armagh City have both dropped down into the Premier Intermediate League. So it makes it two new teams for us to play next year at least. Another one to be decided. But what are your thoughts on Armagh and Anna, Colin?
Well, I'm surprised that Armagh have came down, to be honest. They've always been a decent side in Championship 1, but obviously they've had a bad year. Anna have struggled over the last year to just about avoided relegation last season, so it doesn't surprise me they have maybe eventually sort of found the trap door. Coming up, we're going to have either Doddingstown or Portstewart who have to take part in the playoffs yet. Yeah. We obviously know from January time we went to Portstewart in the Meeting Cup and we lost 5-3. So they'll be a difficult enough away journey, certainly hard enough team to beat. I don't know much about Doddingstown at this stage in time, but we'll see how that pans out. But it does mean that there will have two artificial pitches coming into the league. Armagh playing artificial, Anna playing artificial. I'm not sure about Doddingstown, but having said that, I mean, obviously we've lost Bangor, which is a big blow to the league. We've lost Newry and Limavady, who have both went the other direction, who are decent sides. But yes, I'm optimistic that we can certainly give it a good shot next to see if we can get up in the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of playing different teams anyway, and Anna, I know it was just a pre-season game, but we beat them pre-season last year. Maybe that was a bit of a sign for things to come for them. Armagh, you're right, always seem to be quite solid. But so they'll be looking to go straight back up. But I think it's going to be a very competitive league. Definitely, and that's exciting. It'll be dramatic, and we can't complain about that.
Can't start soon enough for all of us. The season, just for the information, starts actually on the 5th of August next year. Will actually be a League Cup match, which we'll be playing that day, and the first league games will take place midweek directly after that. But as soon as the fixtures are announced, we'll obviously let you know through the club's website and social media, so keep an eye out for those.
So that's just about it for this episode, and indeed this series of Lisburn Distillery TV.
Just before we do conclude, however, we want to say thanks to a number of people who have made the show possible.
First of all, to David Hunter, who has been providing us with our photos and our Ecklandville Distillery Player of the Month interviews. Thanks very much, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. We also want to say a big thank you to Cameron Moore, who's been responsible for most of the video photography of the matches this season. Thanks for doing that, Cameron.
And finally, just to each guest and for the players who have been very kind to me when I've been running after them with my microphone. I know I've probably been the absolute bane of your life, but thank you very much for just for having the time to speak to us here at LDTV. Really appreciated it, and I think the people watching and the fans of the club around the world as well have been very excited just to hear what you've had to say.
We just do really want to say a massive thank you to everybody who has watched the show, and that's what's made it all worthwhile. I mean, as of today, basically, the show, which is just only started there at Christmas, we've just had over 90,000 views of the actual show, which is absolutely phenomenal. So no matter where you're watching from, we thank you so much for your support over this last number of months, and hopefully it'll not be too long before we see you once again. I've been Colin Hopkins.
I've been Lydia Campbell.
Come on, you whites.